Hey everybody, welcome to the Aftershocks of After Loss. I am Rachel Donnelly and I am so excited to be here today for a little R&R with Robyn from Securing Memories. So we're going to get her on here in just 1 second. I can see that she's there. Let's see. Hi.
Oh, hello.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Are you ready for our R&R?
I am.
Don't you love how I just coined that?
Yes, I used the same one in my tag because I thought.
I mean, Robyn plus Rachel equals just magic, right?
That's right. That's right.
Well, and the R&R was formed, as all new relationships are these days, on Instagram.
It's true.
I mean, that's how we found each other.
And every time we get together, we have a good time. So
we do. We have, I think, a little bit too much of a good time. So, well, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody? I'd love for you to tell people a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks for having me today. This is fun. Yeah. So my name's Robyn Sechler, and I'm the owner and founder of Securing Memories. And here at Securing Memories, we help families to record their important family stories and pass them on to the next generation. And so oftentimes when we think about estate planning, about things like your home and your land and maybe, and
the finances and
and money, and we think about passing those things on. But we don't often think about what we call digital assets. And those are things like photos and your videos and now your stories.
Right.
And it hadn't been really possible up until this point to pass those things on. And now that it is, we're really working with families to be able to share those things, because in the end, that's what really matters.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you and I could totally nerd out about the whole digital asset stuff. But, and what we can nerd out a little bit more in a little bit, but I'd love, for you to tell everybody, like, what led you? I mean, I know your story, like you and I have connected a lot on that, on what led us both to where we are now. But I'd love for you to tell everybody about what led you here.
Yeah. So I lost my dad. It's about 11 years ago now. And when he was sick, I used to sit next to him on his hospice bed, and I would just ask him questions.
Right.
I would ask things about, what was it like to grow up with two brothers?
Right.
Were they hard on you, or were they just like always fun? What did you do after school? What was your subject? Why did you become a teacher? And I just started asking him all of these questions. For one thing, I was trying to pass the time,
Right. Yeah.
Fill the space with something positive rather than sort of, just sitting by his side quietly. Right. And I also knew that this was be the last chance that I had to really get any answers. Yeah. So I began writing them down as quickly as I could. And I look back at those now, and it's like, Dad played ball when he got home from school. And it's not a full story.
Yeah.
And
like shorthand. Yeah.
And so one of those days I was sitting with my dad, and without noticing, my husband walked in, picked up my BlackBerry phone. Do you remember the old BlackBerry?
Oh, yes.
And pressed record, set the phone back down, and walked out of the room. And my dad and I didn't notice, and we just kept talking. And it wasn't until years later, about 8 years later, which is now 3 years ago from today, that this BlackBerry resurfaced. My daughter found it in some box somewhere and just started, doing this to it.
Right.
My husband walked in the room and goes, "Oh my goodness, I'm going to tell you what's on that BlackBerry, but you're going to need a tissue first. So he goes on to tell me about how he recorded my dad and I that day. And when I finally took the BlackBerry from my daughter, who was 3, it said 1 password attempt remaining.
Oh, no.
I thought, oh my goodness, this is like, it even makes me emotional thinking about it.
Yes.
There's a chance that this is truly gone forever.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That I'm about to ruin this in about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't dare attempt anything, even though I was pretty sure I knew what it was, but there was no way I was going to try.
Right.
So, long story short, was able to get the audio files off of the phone, and I pulled it up on my computer next to a picture of my dad. Mm-hmm. And my dad had passed away before any of my 3 kids were born. So for them, this was the first time that they were able to hear his voice.
Yeah.
And they crowded around the computer, and the image of them sitting there looking at the picture and listening to his voice. And my dad was talking about what it was like for him to go to school as like an elementary student, mm-hmm. which is its ages. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And when it was over, they turned to me, and what I thought was going to be like, okay, that was neat.
Yeah.
They started like, well, what kind of ice cream did he like? Would he go to my baseball games? What football team did he follow?
Oh.
They started all these questions. They call him Grandpa O.
Yeah.
And what else do we know about Grandpa O? What other stories can you tell us?
Yeah.
And I realized that we had not been intentional about recording stories ever. And we wanted to change that from, this point forward. I can't change what we did before, but we can do it for ourselves, for other people moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And I love how you took what was a very sad circumstance and a very sad reality. And, what they always say, necessity is the mother of invention. And then you just took that and created a platform, a system, a methodology, a whole approach to it.
Yeah.
Because those are some of the biggest casualties that I have, experienced just with my losses, having lost both of my parents, not knowing their stories, not having that generational perspective. How are we related to such and such? And my kids asking questions, sort of same thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes not knowing the answers. So to have a way to be proactive and preserve that is just invaluable.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And you know what? We have a lot of fun doing it too, because every time we prompt a family to sort of tell a story that they haven't told or thought about in a long time, there's always something that a family member learns that they're like, I didn't know you.
I know.
Jersey the summer before you got married, or I didn't know. And winters at grandma's house skiing with her, and there's all that comes up that people are like, really?
Yeah. Well, and you don't want to wait, until the very end to perhaps have these discussions. Like, these are great memory preserving exercises, even when people, aren't sick. You like to do at holidays, like take Thanksgiving and sit down and make it a tradition to record these stories or go through photos and write down who these people are. So I love that you're like building this whole tradition in your family that can be passed on to others.
Right. And we have what we call the story deck.
Okay. Tell everybody about the story deck.
Yeah. So the story deck is here. I have one right here. I'm just going to grab it for you so you can see. This is the original, but the story deck is a collection of cards.
Right.
And each card has a question on it, like, who was your best friend growing up? Do you still know that person? And so there's 52 cards in each deck. And you mentioned Thanksgiving, which is why I brought this up. We have a deck that is the holiday edition.
Right.
And so that one talks more about things like, what is your favorite family tradition? Who started it? How did it
Mhm.
get, what meals end up on the table at Thanksgiving or at Christmas or at New Year's, or, these holidays where you tend to get together with family members. And
Yeah.
so it just, it's a lot of fun. It's a way to get conversation going. Another piece of it for us is, personally, when my kids sit down at ages 5, 8, and 10 with
Right.
my grandmother, who is 98.
Oh my gosh, how special.
Yes, yes, I know. We're hoping for 3 digits.
I'm cheering her on.
Yeah. It's hard for them to find things to connect on.
Yeah.
So when my kids pull out these questions and say, "Hey, Mimi, who was your childhood friend?" And she's like, "Oh, well, let me tell you about Lois. And
Yes.
they can create this conversation that they otherwise would have not really been able to have. So
Yeah.
it's a prompt for so many different things in so many different ways.
Oh my gosh. I just love that. I've been meaning to get one. I've got to get my story deck so that I can give it to my kids to talk to their, grandparents. So I've got to get one. So, I think that you and I, even though there's some overlap in what we do, but different, we both, in ways, are legacy coaches.
Yes.
Like what, I think we both still struggle what to call ourselves. I go from end of life consultant, after loss, consultant, after loss professional. But, being a legacy coach, like what does the word, legacy mean to you? Because it's thrown around so much, and I think it can have different meanings. So what does it mean to Robyn?
Yeah. So it's really funny to hear you say that, because I do feel like I've been through a couple different titles.
Yeah.
What do we sort of call ourselves? How do we make this so that people understand what it is, and also still serves the what we're doing, And I've gone through memory preservation specialist and, memory services. And
Yeah.
one day I was sitting on the couch and I looked up at my husband and I went, "Legacy coach." Like, that feels like what I'm doing. I'm just helping other people to preserve their legacy in whatever way that looks like.
Yeah.
So for me, that means like this silo of memories, right?
Wow.
And it's passing those memories on as your legacy.
Yeah.
And so the word legacy to me really means passing things along.
Right.
And it's the important things. It's the ones that make you who you are. And I can't think of anything that makes you more who you are.
Yeah.
Stories that have become your life.
Yeah.
And,
because I think a lot of times people think it like the financial way of my legacy is the wealth that I've built, or the retirement account that I'm going to pass on, or the house that I'm going to bequeath to my kids. And while, yeah, that is part of your legacy, there's a whole nother component to it that I think is fun.
Yes.
To learn about and to talk about and to share and to reminisce. So I love being a part of that. Like that, I think for me is the fun part.
Yes.
About end of life planning. Like people are like, "Wait a minute, there's a fun part to end of life planning." I'm like, yes, there is.
I know. My husband is an estate planner, I think you know. And so his joke that like our dinner table conversations are like super riveting, We're always talking about how we can best get the things that matter to people.
Yes.
To matter.
Yeah.
And it is, that's what we talk about in our house, but it is also very empowering and exciting to know that when their time comes, we are the ones that help you know that the things you wanted to happen are actually happening.
Yeah.
And such an honor to be able to do those things for families who hold those things so important and in such high regard, and to know that they are getting in the hands of their loved one, because we say you die twice, once when it's your time and twice the last time your name was spoken. And so if your stories can go on in your family and around the dinner table, even when you're not there.
Yeah. I mean, I want people to still be talking about me when I'm gone. I want all the things that I've done to be like the fun stories for people to laugh at me, to make fun of me. Like, I want to have a roast at my funeral, but you know, when people are just like totally making fun of me.
I love it. Great.
But I think what you've hit on of recording somebody's voice and having that preserved is so important. After my mom died, I held on to just this random voicemail that she had left me. And it was just like, hey, Rachel, call me when you get a chance. And that was it. And I held on to it and held on to it. And one time I transferred over phones and it got lost. And it still breaks my heart to this day.
So sorry.
I know, but like you and I learning from that, like you were one password away from one unlock code away from totally losing that digital asset. So helping people to be proactive, think, I really do want to record my voice or my mom's voice or my grandma's voice so that I can just hear them.
Yes. So I did this recently with my grandmother, 98, and her husband, who is 96. And they have been married for 14 years. And I know that because he and I got married in the same year.
Oh my God. Double wedding?
Yeah, not a double wedding. 12 months apart. And today is my wedding anniversary. So
happy anniversary. Oh my gosh.
So when I recorded their story, I had my grandmother's husband's name is Rex. He told their love story. They met when they were young. They separated. They went through their whole lives. And now they ended up getting married at the age of like 85 or 82 or whatever that math was.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
And he was telling this story on record. We videoed it. And she sat there and she looked and she said, "That's a beautiful story. Whose is it?" And she could not remember that was her own love story because she's, lost some of her memory in these years. And
oh my gosh, she's like The Notebook.
Yeah.
She's like that movie, The Notebook. Oh my God.
I hadn't made that connection, but you're right. And it's like so heartbreaking to me.
Yeah.
That, you could forget your own love story.
Yeah.
So powerful that, it's the recording of them is something that can just be passed on and shared, and being digital, it can be shared infinitely.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Absolutely. So tell me how, like a couple of ways, how you work with clients, how the products that people can purchase to help facilitate this whole memory presentation process. Like tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. We have what we call legacy kits,
right?
And have a series of several different ones. They all contain different things, sort of depending on what you're looking for. And in the legacy kit, every legacy kit to begin with is a story deck. And, it could be one of the several that we have. And a phone stand and a light and a mug. And the idea is that we help you to create the experience of being cozy and comfortable with a warm beverage in your hand.
Right.
And turn on the camera and start asking questions with a family member or by yourself or with a spouse, from kids to grandparents or whoever that look like. But the idea is to just sort of set the phone off to the side, press record, and begin asking these questions. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect. Your hair doesn't have to be done, because at the end of the day, when I did my grandmother's recordings, she was cold and the only thing she could find was a towel. So she is wrapped up in a towel on her video, and it's...
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
She would just grab whatever was there and she'd wrap it around her. the tablecloth, she would have put that on, you know?
Oh my God.
But that's her. And the point
Right.
is to make it as personal and as real as you really can. So the legacy kits are one way. We also have a new way coming out that I haven't really even shared across the planet, but I'm going to throw it out here.
OMG, you're hearing it first here, folks.
Yes. So we are going to be rolling out a program or a service, I'll call it, where we come to you. Instead of doing it by yourself at home on your phone and with your own video cameras, we're going to come to you. Lights, camera, action, videographer, you get an edited version at the end. A legacy coach shows up and does the interview for you. It's in the comfort of your own home. In, out, questions asked, done.
Oh my gosh.
So it takes away that piece of, oh, well, when am I going to do this? And
right. Well, and like you and I were talking about the other day, is being that accountability partner.
Yes, that's right.
And like sitting there and being like, all right, we're going to knock this out. We're going to do this. And having that dedicated time, dedicated space, and someone there to be like, all right, boom, let's roll with this.
That's right.
Is so important.
Yes. So we're very, very excited about that. We have done a few behind the scenes here, and we're going to be here soon.
So do you have to be in the greater Pittsburgh area to do this?
So for now, yes.
Okay.
But always going to be that way.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
Greater area. You want to have a little chat about it?
Yeah.
At Robyn at securingmemories.com, and we'll talk about.
If you're just now joining us, I have Robyn Sechler with Securing Memories, and you are live from Mars, yes. Pennsylvania, which is outside. I'm sure you get that all the time.
Yes.
Right outside of Pittsburgh, and they are unveiling a new service where they will come to you and help you execute preserving those memories and securing those memories via live lights, camera, action interview. I love it.
That's right. Yes. So very excited.
So if someone wants to learn more, they can just reach out to you. And so what are some of the other story decks? I know you said there are some. You've got holiday versions.
Yeah.
You've got, what other ones do you have?
We have the original version, which goes through, we have 7 different legacy chapters. And legacy chapters are things like childhood, adolescence, college years, or, teenage years to early adulthood.
Right.
Kids, love and marriage, having grandkids. So it goes through all of the sort of phases of life, which we call legacy chapters. The story deck original includes questions from across all of those chapters.
Yeah. And
the holiday one, which we talked about. And we also have one that is for Valentine's Day, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, that's fun.
And yeah, this was something we did this year with the kids.
Okay.
And got involved in it as well. And there are questions like, how did you meet? And those stories were fun because although my husband and I know them, we remember them a little bit differently. And
isn't that always how it goes? I mean, you're like, wait a minute. Okay, yeah.
Well, my version's right because
well, duh, yeah. So, totally.
Yeah, and it's for the kids to hear too. I mean, I still love to hear the story about how my parents met. I know it, I could tell it, but hearing her say it herself is different. So, those are the 3 decks that we have right now. And they're all super fun. They all have different questions in them, and they can pertain to, certain times throughout the year.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have quite a family tradition of y'all like writing stuff down and preserving things, because now we're going to get to learn more about your book. Like, I think that this is such a great story.
Yeah.
Of how your book came to life.
Yeah, you'll if you don't know already, a lot of what I've done with Securing Memories all has a story attached to it, and that like those stories are what drive me to help other people, but it's also so special to me. So I'm going to share the story with you about how this book came to be.
Yeah.
And the book is called How to Change the Light Bulbs When I'm Gone.
Love that.
And when my dad was sick, he was given just about 6 months to live. He ended up living almost 2 years. So we felt like we had a little bonus.
We got some bonus time. Totally. Yeah.
But when he found out that he was sick, he left the hospital, went into a dollar store, picked up a notebook, and just started writing down all of the things that he thought my mom or us kids might need to know when he wasn't here.
Oh
and
my gosh.
He's an entrepreneur, so he had several businesses and real estate properties that he managed. He had, taken care of everything in the house, the lawn care and the utilities and all of the bills and changing all the light bulbs. He used to say we're all going to live in the dark when he's gone because nobody changes the light bulbs but him. So,
well, it looks like what he wrote stuck because I can see you. There's light bulbs on in your house. So,
right. That's right.
So you took that. You took those dollar store notebooks.
Yes. And
how many were there?
There was one notebook, but
okay.
I have it around here somewhere. It was, like one of those journal, like a spiral bound.
Spiral bound, yeah.
And so, I mean, it was filled every page, front and back. And over those 2 years, he carried that notebook everywhere. And when he thought of something, he just wrote it down. It would be, how you can get into certain accounts and where what bank goes with which business and how you can what we should do with those businesses after
right.
And he had taken the legal steps to make all of those things happen, but what he left for us was the information that he wanted to happen and why.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, so you could have, that's the thing that I think is having that how to and basically an owner's manual of, okay, now I've inherited this home or I've inherited this business or this retirement account, what and how, like the logistics of how to manage those, and to have a basically, a manual, like I said, is like, that's the keys to the kingdom right there.
Yes. And it's still something that all these years later, we still look at, because there are things at his house that were, like, this knob is like really goofy. I can never remember. Yeah. Do we turn it left? And you open the book and you're like, oh yeah, turn it left, And it's just so resourceful. And I wrote this book initially because I thought that it would be something that our family and maybe even our little estate planning practice might be able to use. And so in it are things like, where is your will? Where's your birth certificate? Where are your military discharge papers? Where is your passport? Any of those things that I'm sure you see this all the time. People are like, oh, I have to collect all those documents.
Oh yeah. You have to be like a document detective.
Yes.
To find all of these things. You're like, why do they need X, Y, and Z? And you do. And that's why you and I are working with people to be like, let's pull all this stuff together.
That's right.
I love it. You're giving people the practical advice of the how-to.
Yeah. So it's a blank guide for you to write in all the information that you would want your loved ones or your next of kin or family or whoever it might be to know that you can't tell them.
Oh my gosh. I love that. So you took what you thought would be, your dad's just manual for life. You turned it into something you thought would just be for your husband's law practice. And it's turned into something so much more.
It really has. It really has. To date, we have sold over 5,000 copies.
Oh my gosh. That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's been really, really amazing. The feedback that I've gotten from it, and You know, we've reached far beyond our estate planning practice, and I have many estate planning practices who order them on regular basis to give them out to their clients as a, you know, a welcome package or things like that.
Yes.
And we're also sharing them with hospice care workers who are sharing them with their clients and patients. So
lovely.
I love that it is getting to the hands of the people who most need it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even if you know, I know it's a lot to think through those things, and I'm sure it's a very emotional process for your dad, thinking back of like all of those things. That must have been so hard for him to sit there and write all of that stuff down for when he wasn't going to be around. So, you know, I know the same will be true when people are buying the book and filling it out themselves. But if they just do, you know, a couple of things in there and, you know, take a break and then come back to it.
Yes.
Like their families, their loved ones will be so much better off.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, you never know when life might throw you a curveball. And so it's never too soon to write down the information, but it's also meant to be, you know, a work of progress, because things change in life, and you may have to go update the book or make changes or add new things, or perhaps you got a new subscription to Netflix and you don't want to go on for months and months and months and months.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, it's the things that, you know, it's ever changing, and it's
not a one and done, folks. It is not a one and done. It's a constantly evolving process. So, well, I love that. So, I know we've said people want to reach out to you to learn more about the new services of you coming and meeting with people and helping them record their stories. But how can people get in touch, learn more, give us all your socials? I mean, I know you and I are connected everywhere, but how can our listeners and everybody who's watching us today connect with you?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Securing Memories. And you can reach out to me directly at Robyn, that's ROBYN, at securingmemories.com. My grandfather always called me Robyn with a Y. He never just always Robyn with a Y.
Robyn with a Y. I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's that. And then our website is securingmemories.com. And I'm in all the places, and I'd love to connect. So
yes. Well, Robyn, I'm just so glad you and I have become such good friends from afar and are helping make differences, hopefully, in everybody's journey, getting end of life preparations done, being those accountability partners, even from if afar. So I just love everything that you've done in your mission, and hopefully it's going to help out so many people. And even if it just helps one, like, I feel like we've done our job.
I agree with you. And, you know, there's so few of us who are in this little space of trying to help people, you know, talk about the after and leaving your legacy and getting things from the people you love to the people you love, you know. And it's great to just connect and, you know, have a network of us. And I've really, really enjoyed, you know, learning from you and chatting with you and supporting one another. And it's been great.
It has been. Well, everybody, Robyn, thank you for tuning in for our R&R session with Robyn with a Y and Rachel. Robyn from Securing Memories, and me. I'm Rachel Donnelly with Black Dress Consultants. And feel free to reach out, connect with us if we can help in any way, either helping families as you get your stuff organized for aging and end of life or after a loss. So thanks again, Robyn. I look forward to doing this again sometime soon. And thank you.
Thank you,
everybody, for tuning in. All right, bye.